I think I just want to kind of start off. Yesterday, I posted a Facebook status saying that I was interested in maybe doing a podcast, focusing maybe on positivity. And I opened it up for suggestions and if anyone would listen, and I got some feedback. And I'm still, thinking about doing that and investigating how the process to do a podcast and just doing some research. Usually when I try to do new things, I just try to at least get some information about how to go about it first and then try to make a real action plan on if I can do it or not, or how I'd be able to accomplish such things. I like to set goals for myself.
Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career with a little self-help around the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope that what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm finally here to release this podcast, Positive Philter. That cut in or the pre-recording was way back, I believe, in October or so, when I just thought of the idea of doing a podcast. And as you can see, it's months later. The reason why it took me so long is, as I stated earlier, I always want to make sure I do things correctly. I try to learn and get resources and learn about the techniques to do something. But then when it came down to it, I got kind of like paralyzed by overthinking it, recording this intro podcast about 5, 6, 7 different times. It almost was like that time where Eminem was about to freestyle and he got on stage and he froze. That happened to me, but like over the course of not just one time on stage, a lot of times. And coincidentally, there's no audience. I don't think I even use the word coincidentally, right? But ironically, is that ironic? There was no audience, and I just froze, and I'm by myself in my basement. So this is it. This is something I wanted to do, and I'm going to commit to it, and I'm releasing this podcast. I will worry about how it sounds later. Hopefully, by me doing this over and over again, I'll get better. But I would just want to bring out that positive message, start doing what I can do, really move forward with my goals and things that I've dreamed up to doing and just follow through. So, kind of giving you a little background about myself. My name is Philip Wilkerson. I'm just your average Joe. I live in Burke, Virginia. I went to James Madison for college, got a master's at Mason in counseling. And so I thought throughout this journey that, I would like to do something that would be somewhat impactful, something that makes a difference, something of significance. So a lot of my life is about a lot of my life I've come to realize is a series of random events that usually lead to big things. And so the random event that led to me actually thinking about doing a podcast was the Ill Phil Awards. Now, if you're a new listener to my podcast and you're not familiar with the Ill Phil Awards, I'll give you a brief explanation. So past May 2016, I was working at my community college, which I'll kind of keep private. I want to keep who I work for private, even though if you know me on Facebook, you know who I work for, but I just don't want to mention them in this podcast. And I was making certificates for the college students to tell them that I appreciate them getting into the institution that they transfer into, because I'm a transfer counselor. While doing that, I got bored and I just started making certificates for my colleagues, for people I work with, and I would fill in their name, and I called it the Ill Phil Awards, and I was like, I'm just gonna go with it, and I'm gonna start handing these out to my coworkers. And lo and behold, they ate it up. They thought it was great. They thought it was awesome that I did this, and it was just fun. And the first time I did it, I just did it for them, just handed it to them, and that was it. But then one of my colleagues filmed it, and it was such a funny reaction because one of my other colleagues didn't expect to be given an award on a random day, especially something called the Ill Phil Awards. And so by filming it, we put it on Facebook, and people were like, "Wow, what is it? It's so funny." And so, me being the attention whore that I am and loving attention, I was like, okay, I'm going to keep on putting these award presentations out on Facebook. I'm going to hashtag the Ill Phil Awards, and I just want to just surprise people and give them awards and let them know that they're appreciated. Uh, Lo and behold, it was something I just became consistent with. I would do it over and over again. I would send them through the mail. I would wait for opportunities to surprise my family and friends, and I would just give them these Ill Phil Awards. And these Ill Phil Awards became not lack of, not trying to say it's monumentous or anything, but became a movement. It became an active attempt to use my social media to be a positive person, to spread positivity, using that hashtag Ill Phil Awards, encouraging people to treat others, kind of having a little small platform, not saying I'm famous or anything, but just saying, if I can use my social media, which is a way to reach an audience of people that, way bigger than you. Well, if I'm going to use my social media and create an audience per se, I was going to do it in a positive way and try to use my social media to spread a message of positivity, especially during, the tough political climate that's going on right now, a lot of things going on in the world. So I was like, hey, I'm going to do the Ill Phil Awards and keep on going. Then I decided, hey, well, this is fun. This is one avenue of doing a positive message. Maybe I will talk about positivity on my my YouTube channel. So I would do random ramblings in my car, and what I call random ramblings on my YouTube channels, where I would just film myself in my car talking about various subjects and trying to be positive about those as well. As you can see, the key word, or the word I'm going to say probably 1 billion times, is the word positive, opposite of negative, obviously. So I did those. I made those in my car, and I was like, okay, that's one lane. And then I said, okay, what's one more lane? So I use my Facebook to talk about positivity. I use my YouTube to talk about positivity. Maybe the last avenue would be actual podcasting, checking it out, talking to people and hitting people in that audience, in that realm, and talking about positivity. So that's what the creation of Positive Philter is. Me using this podcast, I'm going to say, is not necessarily, I'm not a guru. I'm not a priest. I'm not the Dalai Lama. I haven't reached enlightenment. It's not a, overarching super message. But what I would say, that when I come to find out through my own self-discovery about, life and what's, my 32 years left on this earth, is that regardless of obstacles, challenges, good things, good times and bad times, the only thing you have control over in these unexpected times is your outlook on things. So I choose actively, regardless of obstacles, challenges, tough times, to look at these challenges, in my perspective, in a positive light. Thus, Positive Philter. Phil, kind of using words because my name is Philo. But seriously, is that I am going to use my perspective and the things that I see in my world and filter, I like to use that word, in a positive light. Learn something, take something away from that, grow from that. And that's going to be the overall message of this podcast, is that throughout life and your different circumstances, we can always re-examine everything that we're doing and spin it and look at it through a positive filter, a positive hindsight, a positive light. So what I want to do on this podcast is I want to have some guest speakers, have my wife on here, have my friends on here, have people that I look up to, mentors, people that I mentor them, mentees, get, perspectives from others, use life situations, talk about how can we look at parenting in a positive light? How can we look at friendships in a positive light? How can we look at work challenges, work-life balance? How can we look at, parenting and all these different things that we're going through, different aspects, and flip it to a positive light, being that this is the podcast for Positive Filter. So I'm really excited. This is my first episode, just an introduction. Hopefully it sounds good, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to this. So before I end this podcast, I like to finish off with a few thank yous for people that inspired me and motivated me to even challenge myself to do something like this and actually go. My first thank you is to Maggie, my wife. I really couldn't have done anything that I wanted to do without her help. She is my biggest coach, my biggest life support, my everything. So shout out to Maggie. And also shout out to her for when I was actually doing the Ill-Fil Awards. She, as crazy as she is, she'd always tease me about, like, how do you know all these random people? But in actuality, she's always been really supportive, and she's always said encouraging things, and that's kept me going. Another shout out is to Ronald, aka Always Big Ron. I put him on spotlight. He said he was going to help me edit this and show me how to use podcast software. So he's going to be a big help for me as I move forward with this. And I really, really appreciate his help and teaching me and showing me how to actually edit podcasts, because he's really good at podcasting. Check him out. His podcast, Time Well Spent, is on iTunes. And so I definitely encourage you to check out his podcast. It's well done, and it's so well done, I asked him for help. So shout out to him. Another shout out is to Dean Bakari. He is a podcaster, and his show is called his podcast is called the Meaningful Life. He has a website called The Meaningful Life HQ, and he is a really, really good friend. I got to know him through my other friend, Sam Nang. So I had to actually give Sam Nang a little bit of credit for introducing us. And he's been someone that also has a really good podcast, and I've asked him for advice, and he's encouraged me, and he's, said things like, man, there's nothing to it but to do it. And so I want to give him a big shout out and say thank you so much to him as well. Next is my cousin BJ for letting me borrow his mic. This episode, unfortunately, was not recorded with his mic, but all the other episodes that I will be recording in the future will be recorded with his mic. He's let me borrow some top-notch equipment, and I really appreciate his support just to start something like this. Next is Erica. Erica is helping me with my website, and I really appreciate her help and everything that she's done. She's really been a behind-the-scenes help and helping me have my podcast idea come to light. And lastly, just for this, thank you, or not two more, not lastly. One is my cousin Ryan, who you'll hear his music on the intro and outro. I keep on telling him to actually put his music on SoundCloud or something so I can plug it, but his music is really, really good. And so I asked him to help me come up with a theme song, and he came through and really delivered, so I appreciate that. And then lastly, is to everyone who supported me, specifically my Ill-Fil Award recipients. They've always, everyone like that I've given an award to means something to me in a small sense. Whether I've seen you, yesterday, or I haven't seen you in 10 years. If you have interacted with me or come into my life at some point, you mean something to me. You are a good person, and I appreciate you for being who you are. And hopefully by this movement of being positive, this avenue, this podcast. Hopefully this is my way to give back to you and say thank you for being who you are. Thank you to everyone. I hope this is going to be a journey. Follow me along as I have different episodes of this podcast. Hopefully it's something that will help you grow as a human being, make you a better person, to make the world a better place. In closing, I have a YouTube channel. You look up Illphil 501. No, not sorry. Rephrase. Illphil 5001. So I think that's 5001. If you type that in YouTube, my channel is the first channel that comes up. That's where you can see my random ramblings and see some other activities and things I like to do. Lastly, if you like this podcast, I have a website called positivephilter.com. The filter is positive, POSITIVE, filter, PHILTER.com. So Positive Philter, and I also have a Facebook page for that too as well. So thank you so much. I hope this is something that you can really get into. Much love and peace.